Alright, so here we go. This What If won the poll. So, for What If I'll do next, so here it is. What if female Deku was the Grim Reaper? Now, for those of you who remember a while ago, I had set up a poll asking if I should give her a brother. Sorry about that, so we'll just check that out. And 90% of you voted for yes to give her a brother, so she'll have a brother in this one. So this one will be a little different from my other mythological ones, aside from Zombie Dragon. So instead of her actually being the creature, or the Grim Reaper, she's going to have a quirk. And her quirk is going to be called the Angel of Death. And her brother's quirk will be known as the Angel of Judgment. And yes, I'm well aware they look similar, but Izumi wears black and he wears white. That's usually how you can tell the difference between the two of them, aside from their sex. Anyway, continuing forward. So Yue will be at college in this one, so she'll be 18 by the time she joins. And so will her brother. Yes, she's going to be a hero in this one. Unlike other Grim Reaper ones where they usually have her as a villain, I'll see if I can get this to work. So, Izumi will be... I'll say Izumi's birth... Izumi's stillborn to Hisashi and Inko. Izumi does have these horns on the side of her head and these eyes when she is born. So Izumi and her brother would grow up with a relatively normal childhood, except that her brother's quirk had activated when he was born to where his body can't actually be seen. It's just like a mass of shadows, so he doesn't have a actual physical body. So he usually wears like very baggy. So he usually wears like hoodies and all that. And he usually I'm just getting onto this, so my brain isn't functioning at 100%. Her brother does wear hoodies a lot, and whenever he's not wearing hoodies, he usually wears some sunglasses as well, because his eyes are quite sensitive to sunlight, along with Izumi's, but isn't as bad. So when they go to the quirk doctor, they get their quirks diagnosed, as the quirk doctor tells Inko that her daughter's quirk is called Angel of Death, and her son's quirk is called Angel of Judgment. As he basically explains that I'll say her brother's quirk name is Izumo, sort of like in the Void Goddess What If. So Izumo's quirk is basically he has the ability to judge people whether they are good or bad, and he can see through their lives to see what they had done. And if they're good, nothing bad will happen to them. But if they're evil, then it sort of works like Ghost Rider's penance stare, to where all the pain of that person's victims will be inflicted on them all at once. And Izumi's quirk is called the Angel of Death, where basically anything she touches will end up decaying and dying, and she can also summon a scythe, so like the one you can see in this picture. Now, Inko wouldn't really care about Izumo and Izumi's quirks, whether they were good or evil. She just wants them to be happy. Whereas Hizashi is disgusted by Izumi's quirk, as he would begin to neglect her and focus mainly on Izumo. So now Izumo won't be cocky. Like, he doesn't really care about his father's affection, mainly because he won't show any to Izumi, but just because of her quirk. So Izumo is quite nice to Izumi, and Izumi's nice to Izumo. And they would hang out a lot. And eventually, it would get to eventually, I'll say around 10 years old, Hizashi comes home drunk one day and is about to hit Izumi before Izumo stops Hizashi as he does his penance stare like ability, as Hizashi would feel all the emotional pain and suffering he had inflicted upon Izumi. As when Hizashi gets up from his penance, he looks at Izumo and Izumi as he would say, "I never loved either of you, you damn freaks. I'm leaving." As Hizashi would just pack his things and he would never come back. As this had basically traumatized both Izumi and Izumo, to where Izumi basically emotionally shut herself off from everyone else, including Izumo. And Izumo would have felt guilty because he had brought this upon his family, so he basically thought that Hizashi leaving was his fault. So he'd basically been carrying that guilt with him for a very long time. As Izumi would have been bullied at school due to her quirk and her appearance, as any injuries that would have been inflicted upon her from the bullies would have basically been gone from her body the next day, so it doesn't matter the injury or not. It would just be gone, whether it was one from Bakugo's explosions to something as simple like a punch to the gut or the face. No injuries would have been shown the next day. As we then get to the end of high school, with Izumi still being emotionally shut off from everyone else, and Izumo is in the same class as her, as the teacher would walk in, as he'd say, all right kids, I have these sheets here that will decide your future. As he'd then throw them up into the air, as he'd say, just kidding, I know all of you want to be heroes. Now, we have 3 people who will be going to UA this year, and from this school, as he would announce the names being Katsuki Bakugo, and Izumo Midoriya, as Katsuki would say, I knew I'd get into UA. He didn't say I knew I'd get into UA. He'd say, I know I'll get into UA. Everybody here, apart from Izumo, are either worthless sidekicks or damn villains. As Izumo would say, wait, didn't you say there was a 3rd person going to UA? As the teacher would say, yeah, we do, and it is Izumi Midoriya. as everybody would turn around and just start laughing. As they'd say, why would they let a villainous freak like you into UA? They'll probably kick you out before you even step foot in the gate. As Izumi would just roll her eyes and say, whatever. It's not like you guys have a chance either. As Bakugo would then explode her desk. But unlike in canon, Izumi remained in place. As Bakugo would say, what the hell? Do you really think a villainous freak like you will get into UA? You'd probably die during the entrance exam. As Izumo would have gone pissed at this, as Izumi would have sort of like made a slight gesture that only Izumo noticed for him to stand down. As Izumi would say, look, Katsuki, I don't really care if I get into UA, because all I know the only reason you want to get into UA is to fuel that ego of yours even more. And I want you to know, once you get into UA, that ego of yours will be shattered into billions of pieces. So don't try to act like you're the best, because there's always a bigger fish. As Katsuki would have went, whatever, you damn villain, as he would have gone back to his desk. As Izumo would have walked up to Izumi after school had ended, as Izumo would say, why do you let that guy push you around all the time? You're gonna have to do something one of these days. As Izumi would say, he is suffering from small man energy right now. Okay, so if I just need to clarify their heights right now. So Izumo is around 6'4", and Izumi is around 6'3". So Izumo is taller than Izumi by an inch. I should say. Besides, even if I did something, he would have gone to the principal and said that I attacked him first. And do you really think they'd believe somebody with a villainous quirk like mine over somebody with a very flashy and powerful quirk like his? As Izumi would have thought about it for a minute and realized that Izumi was right. As Izumo would have said, Izumi, I want to let you know that the reason I want to become a hero is to, as Izumi would say, I know, brother, you want to rectify the wrongs that are in this society, and I do admire you for that. But you have to remember, remember, there's always going to be a small amount of corruption in society, and there's nothing you can do about it. But I do admire that you're trying to become a hero for the greater good. And I really hope you can work through your issues soon. Otherwise, you're not going to have that much fun of a time at UA or as a pro hero. Now come on, let's go home. Mom's making katsudon, our favorite, as Izumo would say. Oh, nice! Then let's go, come on. As he'd basically grab Izumi by the wrist, not grab her. Sorry, he would run off, as Izumi would chuckle to herself. As she'd say, that boy is never going to change. Now, I know some of you might be confused by saying, wait, didn't you say she's emotionally closed off? And I'll say, yes, she is emotionally closed off. But you can sort of like feel sort of like a pressure from her. It's like, you can always tell when she's angry or feeling another type of emotion due to the pressure that's in the air. Anyway, continuing forward, as Izumo would as Izumo and Izumi would have been walking through the streets, they would have gone through the tunnel that Deku went through in canon, as they would have heard the manhole cover move, as Izumi would have acted quickly and threw her scythe, summoned her scythe and threw it at the manhole, basically pinning it down, as the sludge villain would have burst through it anyway. As he'd say, he would look towards Izumo and Izumi, as he'd look to Izumo as he'd say, "You have a powerful quirk, kid. Now, give me your body," as he'd charge towards Izumo, with him almost getting Izumo, but just before he got to him, Izumi had sliced him, did a quick slash, which had sliced the sludge villain in half, as he would have gone over, and he was sliced in half vertically. So he would have gone, half of him would have gone left and the other half would have gone right, as he would have ended up reforming, as he would have said, "What the hell was that?" As Izumi would basically reach her hand into the sludge villain. And I'll say he does have a physical body, unlike a canon. Why? Because plot purposes. As Izumi would have said, "Ah, so there's your physical body." As she would have grabbed it, as sort of like a dark purpley black energy would have began to come from where Izumi had touched, as the sludge villain would have begun to start decaying, as he'd say, "What the hell did you do to me? Why am I falling apart?" As Izumi would have looked down at the sludge villain as she'd say, "That is my quirk. And in your next life, be sure to never mess with people like that again." As the sludge villain would have completely basically decayed away. As All Might would have jumped out of the sewer drain, as they'd say, "There's nothing to fear. Why? Because I am here." And that is where I'm going to end this part off. I do hope you guys enjoy it, and I will see you all next time. Ta-ta!